Everyone knows therapy is great for solving problems, but getting therapy has its own problems too, like finding the right therapist, fitting into their schedule, and of course, the cost. Well, BetterHelp can solve those problems. It's totally online and built around your schedule. It's surprisingly affordable too. Connect with a credentialed therapist by phone, video, or online chat, all from the comfort of your home. Visit BetterHelp.com to learn more and save 10% on your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P.
How you doing, mate?
I'm fine, Paul. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, and welcome all to a chapter of my life with local author Mr. Stephen Pennell. How's things?
Things are great, mate. The book's flying out. I've just had an order on Messenger from Dublin, so I'll be getting that in the envelope and getting up the post office tomorrow morning. And that's how people can get hold of it. The paperback is through Stephen Pennell on Facebook, and then you can just message me on Messenger, add me as a friend, and then as soon as you got your book, you can block me if you like.
I did look at the intro, and there's a few Blues fans that I've actually blocked because of my love of Jack Grealish. And Birmingham it's a funny city, isn't it? Because we grew up together, we intermarry each other. We're a funny group of people. We love each other, and absolutely some people hate each other in equal measures as well. So for the people that aren't actually Brummies, they probably don't know where we are or where we're coming from, but that's the way it is. Is there any other way to get hold of the book? Are you selling it via Amazon, or is it just purely through you, Stephen?
You can get it. You can download the ebook if that's your thing. You can get that from Amazon.
Yeah.
But you can't get the paperback from Amazon.
Sure.
It's either me or if you're in town a lot, you can pick it up from the printers, which is in Waterloo Street. But again, they're open 10 till 3. So again, if you want details of exactly where that is, come and see me. But it's called Quick on Waterloo Street, next to Phil Potts. And if you go in there, if you pop in there and talk to Mark Eagles, he'll happily hand you one over, and we'll sort out the money.
Biggie to his pals and one of my oldest school friends as well. Have to say, when did you decide to write this masterpiece? I've read it, and I went to school with Biggie and Wilf, and trust me, in English we did nothing. All we did was argue about Birmingham City and Aston Villa, and I didn't read anything. It took me probably 2 days to read your book. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic read, mate, so congratulations.
Thanks very much, Paul. Well, I didn't do a lot in English really either. I think I was a bit of a natural, to be honest, because when I put my name down for, you do your options in the third year.
Yep.
You say what you're going to do, and I was in a bit of a panic because I was probably a bit naughty really, and I said I was going to do O-levels and everything, and all the teachers laughed at me. And they said, you've got no chance of doing O-levels. And then when I went back in the fourth year, I thought, oh, blimey, I've got to get on with it, because all my older brothers and sisters were really clever.
Yeah.
And I thought, our mum and dad's going to be disappointed in me. So when I went back in the fourth year, I wrote an essay in English, and I signed it off as if it was a police report of some fighting at the football.
Yeah.
So I signed it off as PC, Plod or whoever. And the teacher said to me, I can't teach you nothing about English. She said, I'm going to put you in for the O-level in November with last year's fifth years who were doing resits. Mm-hmm. So I did it in November and I passed it, and I didn't have to do any more English then for the last 18 months of school because I'd already got the O-level.
So you'd already got a good idea of English literature. Were you very learned? Did you read much? What's your background? We don't want to give too much away, Steve, but what's your background? Because this is your first novel, but you have written another book before this, hadn't you?
Yeah, I'd say my background in writing, really. I had a poem read out on the radio when I was little, when I was 8. And I just want to say my daughter Amber is already a published poet at 7. Well, she's 10 now, but she had a poem published at 7.
Yeah.
So that's running nicely in the family. And writing and literature does run in the family. My mum's mum, who died when my mum was 18, she used to recite poetry at the town hall way back probably in the early 20th century, I'd say that must have been. My sister writes for, she does articles for Take a Break and OK and stuff like that. I've got another sister who writes historical novels, but I don't think she's had anything published. And my late brother Johnny used to write religious tracts because he went to he was an evangelist preacher in France.
Oh right.
So and my mum used to write the Christmas concert for the ladies at the GPO, all sketches and different things like that. So it's in the family. And as Stephen King says, if you can talk, you can write.
Yeah, you can.
You just have to think about what you'd say and get it down on paper.
Now, witty and gritty, and also joys and sorrows. It's a book that has everything. And you look at it and you think, well, who would this book appeal to? And I believe anybody, because I think it's a fantastic read. You love the characters and hate some of the other characters in the same way. It really does have twists and turns. It's got football. It's got, as it says on the cover, gangsters, geezers and mods. Where did you come up with the title? And the artwork is fantastic as well. Who got involved with that?
Well, the title, I thought to myself, well, it's got all them 3 things in, and I wanted to try and just do an appealing title, really. Yeah. Where I thought, that covers a few demographics, because, gangster books are popular, gangster culture and all that's popular. And geezers, I was trying to get the Hooli lit market, and obviously mods, I was trying to get because some people I'll buy anything with the word mods on the front. Yeah. And I thought there must be some other people like that as well. And I've tried to sort of cover all 3 of them. I mean, the reason why it ended up sort of so, as you say, it's kind of all encompassing, is because I thought that, the football stuff, I was going to write something called maybe I was a useless hooligan or something like that, and I just never had enough. Yeah. And then the gangster story I came up with, and I didn't think that was long enough. So I sort of put a narrative together and tied them all in, and you wouldn't know it, would you, that it's about 3 different things. Yeah. So that's why I think it covers a few bases, and it's really nice of you to speak so kindly of it, mate.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was brilliant, and as I say, the thing with kind of hooligan books, and it isn't a hooligan book, it isn't particularly a gangster's book, and it isn't particularly a mod book. It's a book that would appeal to all genres and all people. And I suppose if you're over the age of 55, like we are, even more so, because some of the references, like to Black Jacks and the corner shop and Alpine Pop and stuff like that, it does make you smile, and it brings back wonderful memories of our childhood. How long did it take you to formulate the story and bring all those 3 things together as one?
Well, it took longer than it should have, really. Yeah. But I had that. I brought when I wrote the season diary, Star Spangled Villains, in 2007. Yeah. I thought to myself, well, I might have another book in me. That really appealed to me. That when I saw that finished and out there on the streets, and so I thought I'd have another go at it. And I had about the first 2 or 3 chapters, and then my son wiped it all off my computer. He must have been about 18 at the time. Thought he knew everything. I can format your PC for you, Dad, he said. Next thing I know, it had all gone. I took it into a computer repair shop, and they said, no, we can't find anything on the hard drive. And so that was gone, and I sort of gave up on it. Yeah. And then we were just moving a few things around in the house, and I found a lot of it on hard copy, probably about 3 years ago, and I thought, right, I've got quite a bit now on hard copy. I've got to try and I'm going to try and finish that off. And so that's the kind of timeline of it, really. And then when I finished it, I sent it to me friend Simon Page, who used to write for Heroes and Villains, to proofread it. I couldn't get nobody to read it, and I didn't know if it was any good. I was sitting there thinking, it might be a load of rubbish, this. And I sent it to a proof to Simon, and he said it's really good. He said you just need to make the ending a bit longer, and he said things like he did me a big page of notes. He didn't write anything, but it's amazing how much a proofreader helps. He said things to me like, if you went to Farquhar Road in the book, why did you get off the train at Five Ways instead of University? And I was like, oh yeah. So it helps having somebody with such a fantastic knowledge of Birmingham that could point out any tiny little faux pas like that. For instance, there's a little bit about a bowling alley in Her Street, and he said it's in Pershaw Road. He said not Her Street. I said, oh okay. And little things like that he wised me up on and pointed out the little mistakes, and that was a really big help for me.
Now, the attention to detail, as you've just alluded to there, is absolutely fantastic. For people that are going to buy the book from out of town, from other areas, it wouldn't mean nothing to them, but it does to us Brummies. I love the mad English teacher. We've always had a mad English teacher, haven't we? And we don't want to give too much away, but his after-school activities are absolutely legendary, and it is in the book. All the chapters of the book are named after songs as well, because you write for the Birmingham Press, and you've recently done a review of the Twang when they played just down the was it the British Oak that they played in Birmingham?
Sturchley, the new Mosley, Sturchley, that went down really well because the Twang retweeted it, so it's got quite a few views, that has. Yeah. And I love the Twang. I've only got into them probably about the last year. Yeah. I missed the sort of the debut album and all that, because the bloke who lent me the debut album was a bit of a div, to be honest. So I never bothered listening to it before I gave it him back, and I really missed out there, I think. But yeah, mainly Paul Weller, the chapter titles.
Yes.
Paul Weller solo, a bit of the Twang, bit of the Style Council, the Streets, the Impressions, Namaiwa, who's a great local singer, soul singer.
Miss Jazz, yes.
Yeah, and she's fantastic. I think she's calling herself just Namaiwa now. She's had kind of a rebranding, but she's fantastic.
And also Call Me Unique as well, that you reference, and Lady Sure in the book as well.
Yeah,
I loved the compact ambijou. Now, we're not going to tell anybody what football ground it is, but it's a great reference of a football ground in this country that was your first away trip, wasn't it?
Yeah. And some people have said that's a very, very emotional passage.
Yeah, it is
for them.
Yeah,
and I'm really glad, because that was just the kind of bloke my dad was. But you'll have to read it. So
yeah, absolutely. We don't want to give anything away or too much away.
Full of sacrifice.
Yeah, and also I love the Silver Jubilee, because in 1977 we did have the Silver Jubilee. We've had another one since, but it was nothing like that one. And you met one of your heroes as well. We don't want to give anything away, but I read that and I went, wow.
Yeah, Eric Houghton,
yeah,
a great man. Very modest. Obviously, with very little to be modest about, considering what a great footballer he was. Yeah, and pretty good manager as well. He's done something that no Villa manager's done in the 60-odd years since. Won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So you've got your Ron Saunderses and your Ron Atkinsons, and who none of them could get us to win the FA Cup. But Eric Houghton, and then he gave years of service as a director, of course, and he was in the team that refused to give the Nazi salute in Germany.
Absolutely.
And also a great man.
Played cricket for Warwick as well.
Yes, of course he did. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I don't think I put anything about that, did I?
I'll be honest, I think you had a better result at Warwick than what Eric Houghton did. Again, another brilliant story in that book. I was falling about laughing with that story. How anybody could just do what you did there. and pulled it off is it's just phenomenal.
That's why it's called a confidence trick, Paul. You just have to be confident. I don't know whether I can say too much about
No,
it.
no, let's leave it there. Let's get people thinking about that confidence trick. But if you're looking at in a scale of 1 to 10, I'm saying that confidence trick's probably 11 or 12.
Oh yeah, it's a class. It's a classic. It's a classic and very lucrative.
Oh, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
it got me so much more than money.
Of course it did, yeah. And that's it, and we're going to leave it there. It did get you so much more than money. What also got you in a sticky situation was the meeting at the Barton Arms. Again, fantastic, and there's a little bit of the old gangsters mole there, Molly, and bit of a grasser, a situation that went back many years, and then more twists and turns while you were sitting there smoking on your cigar with, again, another result by your ingenuity in sorting something out via the Birmingham Mail, which again was quality.
Yeah, and a little bit exaggerated, but
Yeah.
it was very true. But I just didn't make quite as much money as I made out I did in the book. But
Yeah.
I made quite a few quid, and it was all legal. So,
but again, most of in the book is legal. Okay, with gangsters and geezers, there's going to be a little bit of things that do touch upon the dark side, of course.
yeah,
But what you'd done with a smile, and you'd done with an. It was almost like the Artful Dodger type of situation, wasn't it? You were a step
yeah.
ahead of the opposition.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to. I get fed up of the way Birmingham is, and the way Brummies in particular are
Yeah,
portrayed
absolutely.
in the media a lot of the time.
Mm.
I think Tommy Shelby's really cool.
Yeah.
But before that, we've had Benny from Crossroads. Now Paul Henry's a great bloke.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but he was the national idea of what a Brummie was until he was supplanted by Barry in Our Vida's Own Pet.
Yeah.
And they were both a bit, not the brightest lamps in the street, were they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to show that we are the most inventive and creative city in the world, and I wanted to show that. And some of the people are a bit sharper than your average Cockney and your average Scouser. I mean, they can mouth off and they can show off and everything, and they'll tell you they're going to rob you. We'll just keep in the background, and you won't even notice.
And your introduction, it starts a few months ago. I read an article in The Guardian about Birmingham. That was the first sentence. And then you reference so many instrumental, iconic Brummies, Birmingham places, situations in Birmingham, that when you look at that and it's written down in front of me in text, you look and you just think, wow, it's absolutely right. Lawn tennis, the first lawn tennis just by the Botanical Gardens.
Yep.
The first lawn tennis game that was ever played was in Edgbaston. It's not there no more, but one of my customers told me it's somebody's back garden, I think in Westfield Road now.
Right.
It's absolutely incredible. The Icon Gallery, the Barber Institute of Fine Arts. We've got it, everything in Birmingham, more miles of canals in Birmingham than Venice. Birmingham is a great city, and you're right, it's always been talked down and not up, and you're talking Birmingham up. Tis was another iconic TV show that
Fantastic.
was just again golden, wasn't it? The golden years, the halcyon days, and those halcyon days are referenced in your book with your love of Aston Villa, because that's where you got involved in them early 70s, and Alex Cropley was one of your heroes that you referenced in there as well.
Yeah, he was a fantastic player, Paul. He was an all-rounder. He wasn't the biggest, but he could put himself about, and he had so much ability. I mean, we were lucky in a way. I talk about my number 10 shirt that I bought because I remember you used to buy the numbers, didn't you?
Yeah.
You could buy the numbers from the shop, couldn't you? But you had to iron them on yourself. I know they do them in the club shops now.
Yeah.
But in them days, you had to take them home, and you get your mum to iron them on. Yeah. So I got a number 10 on because I liked Chico Hamilton, And then when Alex Cropley came, I thought, well, I like him as well. I'll keep this number 10.
Yeah.
And then when Alex Cropley, unfortunately, he never really recovered from that really bad leg break he got against the Albion. And then we had Cowans.
Yeah.
So that number 10 shirt lasted me well.
Yeah.
And every number 10 was my favourite player. But yeah, he was a fantastic player. And, they were great days down there. I think the beginning of the end, really, for the Alton was when they put that fence up the middle.
Yeah.
That sort of spoilt it a bit. Before that, it was just, I couldn't wait to get there every week.
But your modern day number 10 is just as iconic as all those that you've referenced.
Yeah, possibly more so, I think, because, whatever you say about, I don't know about Chico and Cropley and Sid, but I mean, you've got the kids now, they've all got the haircuts and everything, and he's really sort of like at the zeitgeist, isn't he? Yeah, Jack Grealish, everybody's talking about him. I think, I'm not sure if Gareth Southgate, his agent, because he's made him the most talked about footballer in the world, isn't he?
Yeah.
Why not pick?
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Millions of people have lost weight with personalized plans from Noom. Like Evan, who can't stand salads and still lost 50 pounds.
Salads generally for most people are the easy button, right? For me, that wasn't an option. I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. But Noom worked for me.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
Get him all the time.
And also has a fan club of so many former pros. I do a regular show with Alan Hudson. I've interviewed Tony Curry. I do a regular one with Terry Curran as well. All three think he's fantastic, as does Simon Stainrod as well, another former Aston Villa number 10. Let's talk about an Aston Villa number 8. And in 1996, you saw that cup final. You didn't with the one against Leeds United. You had a bit of a
I saw the Leeds one was 96.
Oh, sorry.
The Man United one 94. I missed that one.
Sorry, that's what. Being a blue nose, that's what I meant. The Leeds one when you won 3-0, but the one before, which was it was Ron Atkinson, wasn't it, against Manchester United?
Tactical masterclass.
Yeah, you had a Gianluca day, didn't you? And we'll leave that there as well with the wash.
Okay.
With
the Washwoods.
With the Washwoods as well, yeah. Yeah, because there's quite a reference to the Washwoods as well. Again, there's a lot of Birmingham references and a lot of humour. But in that 1996, where you must have felt like a 15-year-old kid with that girl on your arm. And when I interviewed Brian Little, I've recently done a podcast with Brian Little, and he said that day in 1996, he felt like that 15-year-old that had just got off the train and fell in love with that football club in Birmingham 6. And again, the Birmingham 6 reference is there in the book. You're playing football, jumpers down for goalposts in Aston Park as well.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It was, they were fantastic times, and what a player he was, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What a talent he was. I always thought he was better than Trevor Francis, Paul. I don't know what you think about that, mate.
To be fair, I've always said, my first argument when I interviewed Brian and Peter my first argument in school was about Brian Little, and my last argument in school was about Peter With. So, but they were, for me, Brian Little and Trevor Francis, they were the two kings of Birmingham. And for lots of people that don't really... Francis gets a lot of accolades because he went over to Italy and he won the European Cup. But I think Brian Little was every inch Trevor's equal.
Yeah, he was certainly a great player. He was a Rolls Royce of a footballer,
Yeah. But more maverick than Trevor. Far more
Was he?
maverick.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brian told me about when he tried to nutmeg the goalkeeper when they played against Oldham and he scored a hat-trick. He missed a penalty just before half-time and Saunders gave me a right round of. But that was he was a cheeky fella, a little bit
Yeah.
like you.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, mate.
Well, you should do, Stephen, because everything is complimentary in this book. It's absolutely fantastic. There's also a story of good karma as well, isn't there?
Yeah. You know, I believe in karma.
Yeah.
I think, it's like that old one, isn't it, about be nice to people on the way up,
Yeah.
because you'll meet them on the way down.
Mhm.
And there's a good example of that in the book, and a lesson for us all, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice to be nice. You're only here once, and it's nice to be nice.
Do you know, I think that you might as well do a good job and be nice to people, because the alternative, I think it does come back and bite you on the bum, and I think rightly so as well.
Yeah.
Great references to a couple of the crews as well. The sea crew from Aston Villa and the Source Force and the Zulus.
Yeah.
Lovely story when that you was being chased around the town as well by the boys. I did feel for you because I get chased around the internet by them these days. So I know where you're coming from.
I know you do, Paul. I've noticed. Well, you will stick up for our Jack, wouldn't you? You bring it on yourself, really.
Well, to be fair, Terry Curran says, "I'm with the Blues fans, Gabbie. You are a Blues supporter and you keep talking up Jack Grealish. But you know what, Stephen? All I've ever done is tell the truth and said things as I see it. And if it gets me into trouble, so be it. In my opinion, Jack's the greatest English football player in the country at this present moment in time. And I'd build the England team around such a fantastic talent as Jack Grealish. The Blackpool trip was fantastic and iconic as well, mate. And Burnley as well.
Yeah. But, that was the way it was in our eyes. But I mean, you could do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s. I'm sure there was just as much danger about for people, but probably because we didn't see it on the telly or the internet all the time. Your parents was a lot more laissez-faire, let's say. There was a bit more, I mean, for instance, my brother, who's 10 years older than me, he used to hitchhike to away games when he was like 10 or 11. 10 years later, our mum and dad would never let me do that, but they'd let me go on a train on my own.
Yeah.
And now, if my son come to me 9 years old and said, I mean, he wouldn't even think about it because he hasn't had the kind of upbringing where he could think, I'll get on a bus and then go on a train.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't occur to him, and I wouldn't let him either. But, that's how times have changed.
I think things were more innocent back in our day, wasn't it? I mean, and we're saying that, and there was so much terrorist violence. There was.
I don't think our mum and dad knew that.
Well, there wasn't the social media, and there wasn't the TV channels that spout it out. People in the game and fans knew what was going on, but I think it's like your parents didn't, because they weren't going around in the same circles as what you were, and so they shouldn't really, because they were your parents. They were of another generation.
That's it, yeah. And I mean, probably if they'd have known the kind of things that we saw, whether we got up to them or not, that probably would have been a lot more worried about us. But no, I mean, we just used to go, 13 or 14 years old, just go uptown, get on a train, and that was it. It's probably about, I think there's about 5 or 6 of us from our street. And, our parents didn't think anything of it. I mean, I was only talking to my mate the other day, and one of the legendary away games was West Ham in the FA Cup quarter-final in 1980. And we probably should have won the cup that year, because West Ham won it as a second division team.
Yeah.
And we were, just about to win the league the next season. And but my God, it was terrifying. I mean, there was lots of Villa there, and there was fighting all game. But it was in the. They all say that was the game where they decided that they'd got to get organised, the Villa.
Yeah.
And what gave birth to the secret. But it was terrifying. And I was just talking to my mate about it the other day, and he says, "I know." He says, "I can't believe it. We went all the way there, He said, I was 14. He said, I survived that day, got back to town and got mugged by skinheads in town.
Was it Ray Stewart? Was it a Ray Stewart penalty that knocked Villa out through memory, yeah?
Yeah, it was handball, wasn't it? There was an handball, and I don't know whether it was Ken McNaught or their centre forward who handballed it, but all the ref saw was a hand.
Mm.
And he thought it was McNaught. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that many replays. Now, of course, you'd have no problem there because VAR had sorted out, wouldn't it? Probably.
Absolutely. And another place that almost sorted you out was a place that you would not ever think about. Probably the most tranquil of places and grounds, but lovely little passage in the book about the away trip where all the boys are out holding hands, but we're not going to go there and we're not going to tell them what ground and what city, but buy the book and read it because it is a fantastic read. I love the passage as well about the Villa was selling a player and you put your Villa kit on and your boots and you trapped round all the pubs and got some money to try and get this player to stay at Aston Villa. Absolutely quality, mate.
I mean, I saw a little kid on the telly the other day who was doing something similar to that.
Yeah,
he was raising money to. I can't remember which player it was now, but they had him on Sky Sports and everything, and I thought, bloody hell, they didn't take any notice of me when I did it. Well, we didn't have Sky Sports then. They didn't have 24 hours a day to film, did they?
We didn't, and the only games really that was on telly in those days was the FA Cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah, a few England games. And
yeah.
I don't think even the England games are live, were they? Unless they were in the World Cup. Some of the World Cup qualifiers I seem to remember.
Yeah, it was.
Like Poland.
It was pretty much sports night. And again, you talk about sports night in the book because of that epic cup final of Aston Villa in 1977. Yeah, where it went to the first game at Wembley and keeping out and getting the tickets and so on. And then the next game. And then it come alive, really, didn't it? Old Trafford in the second replay.
The second replay, yeah. Fantastic game, yeah. And we was, of course, then, if you didn't go, like you say, there weren't any live games on. Tony Butler was the man, weren't he?
Get your prayer mats out.
That's it, Al Saunders of the Villa. And, I mean, he was quite revolutionary, actually, Tony Butler. I mean, he sort of paved the way for a lot of sort of shock jocks and people like that, phone-ins and stuff like that, didn't he?
I think the thing is with Tony,
influential.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, and certainly in our area, I would put Tony up there as number one and the pioneer of football radio phone-ins and commentary because as you've alluded to there, the shock jock. But you know what? Tony Butler wasn't shock. What you actually seen of Tony Butler is what you got. I mean, he was like that. He wasn't putting nothing on. He wouldn't pull no punches, break down the door on your bike. And that was a boxing reference, on your bike, backpedaling, because he was a massive fan of boxing as well as football as well. I thought Tony was fantastic, legendary.
Oh, he was, yeah. I mean, to be honest, although you say local and round here, that was like really nationally influential. There weren't another station that had people of the calibre of Tony Butler, Les Ross, and Ed Doolan.
Yeah,
they were top broadcasters, and that was like obviously commercial radio had just started. They were the trailblazers. There weren't even people like them in the other local radio stations across the country because BRMB was the first one anyway, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, and you're absolutely right because I think even now when you bring it up to date, I still don't think we've got people, as you've just said there, Ed Doolan, legend, who's the boss, Les Ross. I mean, he got all us kids up, didn't he? Because he was on the breakfast time in BRMB when we were at school, and Tony. I just think Tony was just different class. Tony Butler taught everybody else how to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And impartial as well, unlike some that we've had in this area that have got the noses so far up certain football clubs' backsides, it's untrue. But Tony got banned at Birmingham City because he wouldn't play the game, and that's what I love in people. Say it as you see it.
That's right, and that's what Tony used to do, very uncompromising. And, he wouldn't let nobody browbeat him into towing any kind of party line, would he?
No, and I think probably that was Tony's demise, that he wouldn't play the game. And I think these days everything's particularly sanitised, and if you don't do as you're told, you're not going to come in. Well, Butler would just say, I don't want to come in, then I'll knock that door down. And you couldn't control Butler.
That's right.
I love uncontrollable people.
That's why you like that book.
Although you controlled... No, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say who you controlled, because I want people to buy your book, link up with you, Stephen, buy the book, but you did control, and that's all we're going to say. And it started where it finished, or it finished where it started, and every page was a page turner full of just brilliant writing, mate. So congratulations, well done, and I'm looking forward to Gangsters, Geezers and Mods Part 2, pal, because there's got to be a follow-up to this book. It's so good.
I'll do my best, mate. It really, to be honest, it really took it out of me, and I've started writing a little bit, but I've got this. I've got a deal with a publisher coming out about a book about the Birmingham music scene, about the little bands and rappers and soul singers and stuff that are about now. And there's a few big names in there, like the Twang and UB40 and stuff like that. So I'm a bit distracted with that at the minute. I think the deadline might be Friday, and I've got to get it from something like 70,000 words to 60,000 words and sort the photos. But who knows after that? We'll see how that goes. And I'll probably have to be boring everybody to death with that one on Facebook then for a bit.
So when is that book coming out, Stephen?
I don't know. They want to crowdfund it. It's with History Press, and what they're saying to me is that if they can get 500 people to sort of pledge to buy it, by saying, what they do with these books now. They say if you want your name in the back, or something like, you can pay for the book, and if you do it in advance, you get your name in your back, and different things like that, sort of rewards for crowdfunding, basically. So they want to raise enough money to print 500 copies. If they raise enough money to print 500, they said they'll do 1,000. And I want to do that because to be honest, there probably won't be a lot of, I've looked at the contracts. I don't think there's going to be a lot of money in it for me. So what I've decided to do, I don't know, I'm sure you knew him because everybody did, is with I'm going to give half of my royalties to Paddy Dalton's family.
Okay, yeah.
You know Paddy?
I knew of Paddy. I didn't know him. I believe that I went to the same school, Kingshurst, as Paddy. But he was a Facebook friend. I thought it was absolutely tragic because, he looked the life and soul of the party. And
he really was.
Yeah, I believe he was. And it just shows you, doesn't it, with suicides and mental health, how, anybody can be a victim of that. And, God rest him and all the rest. So I think that's going to a great fun there, and 100% anything that you want to do regarding SRBMedia and with me, mate, I'm only too happy to oblige there, and to any of Paddy's family as well.
Thanks, Paul. We'll talk about that at more length. His partner sort of she's kind of okayed what I want to. I want to dedicate the book to him. I've written a little tribute to him, and I've written a little story about him in the next book. And she thinks that's lovely. So I think she's on board with it, and I just need to get it sort of officially confirmed. And I'll be bothering you then on Facebook saying, let me come on and talk about my next book.
Absolutely, anytime. Until next time, up the villa and keep right on.
And I'll just say up the blues because, as you can tell from the book, I've got a lot of blues mates.
Absolutely,
and, there's no hatred in it at all, just banter.
Absolutely spot on, because in my family, some of my grandkids are Aston Villa supporters. A couple of my grandkids, three of my grandkids have got Aston Villa tops and got Grealish number 10 on the back. And, in our house, Jack Grealish is an absolute legend. And in some houses in my family, he's not, but he is, but he is to me. And I just think Blues and Villa stick together because we're all family at the end of the day, and God bless everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I've got a mate who's quite famous for his, everybody says, oh, he really hates blues, he does. And, he goes in the social and the used to go in the adventurers and that, and I'd see him and I'd say, but what about so-and-so, he's all right, isn't he? And he'd say, oh, yeah, he's all right. And I'd run through a list of names,
yeah,
and he liked all of them. And I'd say, you're supposed to really hate blues. He said, I do. The ones I know are all right. It's just all the ones I don't know.
And the Addies, what a great place that was. Gazoo used to own that. What a top bloke as well.
Yeah, gone now, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. Sadly, it has. Lots of our pubs have. And it's time for you and me to go as well, mate. So till next time.
All right then, Paul.
See you soon, Pat.
See you soon, Paul.
See you soon, pal. Okay, it's a tongue twister.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Paul.
Stephen. Anytime, mate.
Okay.
Once again, congratulations with your book. It's an absolute page turner and one of the best books I've ever read, mate. Well done.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, mate.
Cheers, pal.
Bye-bye then.
And thanks for listening, guys. Cheers.
Spend your time in smoky rooms where good old women with cheap perfume say it never happens for people like us, you know. Nothing ever happened on its own. And while the toilet smells of desperation, the streets soul echo of aggravation. And you wonder why you can't get no sleep when you've got nothing to do and you've had nothing to eat. Your life's slipping and sliding right out of view, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do. Well, we'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now. We'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now. Dirty dishes from a TV mill that went cold from the wind through a smashed up window. You can't go out if anybody calls you, cause you can't have a bath when there's no hot water. And your friends are out on the town again, and you ask yourself if it'll ever end. And it's all too much for your head to take, just a matter of time before you break. Well, we'll live and die in these towns.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey everyone, Marcus and Luke here from the Football Ramble. And great news, the Euros are finally here.
And the Football Ramble is the best place to live and breathe it all.
Every group stage upset.
Every Panenka.
Every Roy Keane glare.
You do your job. Every inflatable unicorn.
And every England heartbreak.
We'll be there.
Because we've got Euros fever.
The Football Ramble is your ultimate companion for the summer.
Join the original football podcast every single day throughout the tournament.
Search Football Ramble and hit subscribe.
Celebrations, listen, slightly over the top.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.